Hello, my name is John D'Amore, and today, in 5 Minutes of Interoperability, we'll be speaking about the International Patient Summary, or IPS. So let's get started. What is the IPS? Well, it's a standardized set of clinical information about a patient that includes the most important and relevant health and care-related facts. It's a summarized version of a patient's record, so it doesn't have everything that's ever been done about a patient, but it provides that essential information that's needed for care during a care transition. The International Patient Summary, or IPS, is minimal and non-exhaustive. It's not specific to any specialty or any condition. It's meant to be readily usable across all clinicians, and particularly in the case of unscheduled and cross-border care. So what goes into an IPS? Well, in the upper right we can see medications, allergies, problems. Those are required parts of the IPS, but there's additional information as well. Immunizations, results, procedures, as well as a host of other sections are available to place in an International Patient Summary. But let's drill into two concepts about the IPS. First, the IPS is meant to represent continuity of care. Now, of course, unscheduled cross-border care is a key time when you might want to get information to a caregiver that you've never seen before about your medical history. But the IPS is not limited to that. The IPS can be used in any care transition. It could be from a referral from a primary care or general practitioner to a specialist, or even when you're just changing care settings for ongoing care. The key thing is that an IPS is often used when you move across borders. Now, the biggest and the most prominent border is often an international border, but borders can be provincial, state, regional, local, or organizational. You can have two hospitals that might be down the street from each other, using different health information systems. The IPS can serve a key role in exchanging information across those organizational borders in that scenario. So even though the IPS has international in the name, it can be used across a wide set of scenarios. How did the IPS come about? Well, it was first developed in Europe, which led to the CEN EN 17269 standard, which led into patient summary guidelines in the EU. This eventually became codified in the ISO 27269 standard, which is an abstract standard that says, here are the types of things we expect to put into a patient summary. However, to implement this abstract standard, HL7 has developed both a CDA and an FHIR, or FHIR-based implementation guide for how to implement the IPS, which reference SNOMED CT in the IPS terminology for being able to include information. IHE also supports profiles for exchanging IPS documents. We'll be speaking a little bit more about that IPS FHIR implementation guide here in the next slide. The IPS and HL7 FHIR, or Fast Healthcare Interoperability Resources, is a care summary that uses the composition resource. The composition is a key resource that builds a document in FHIR. The published guide for the IPS in FHIR is available in the first link, and the second link includes our ongoing development for the next version of the FHIR IPS implementation guide. How does this actually get constructed? Well, if you're used to FHIR, there's going to be a bundle, which really allows you to pack together a lot of resources. In this bundle, the first thing will be a composition, which is required when you include a document. That composition has information about the text, the language, who the patient summary is about, the author of this information, and clinical services that are related to the IPS, as well as the sections. Each section, which is really the payload of an IPS, will include narrative text which can be displayed on any screen for a clinician to be able to read, as well as resource references to the more machine computable information about a patient summary. Those things are going to point back to the other resources in the bundle, which allows you to compute and iterate upon this information to be able to get all of that valuable information downstream to the care provider who needs it. Why are we excited about the IPS? Well, there's a tremendous amount of international momentum around the adoption of the IPS. In 2021, the G7 put out a roadmap for the IPS that talked about all 7 nations going forward to adopt the IPS over the coming years. It actually called out the Global Digital Health Partnership, which is a larger group of 33 different nations and 3 international organizations working together to advance digital health. One of their key work streams on interoperability focuses on the implementation, adoption, and advancement of the IPS. So this is really exciting to see a broad section of the world working to advance the International Patient Summary and doing so in a way that allows international, but also regional and local information sharing improvements. How do you learn more? Well, you can go to international-patient-summary.net for a great public introduction to the International Patient Summary. It gives a lot of links to available resources as well as different things that are happening all across the globe. And if you're interested to dive deeper into the FHIR standard, you can go to hl7.org/FHIR/UV/IPS and go ahead and explore this. We'll put these links at the bottom of the video. Thank you so much for your attention and time, and really appreciate you learning a little bit about the IPS today.